Fight!
3, 2, 1. Recording. Hi, welcome to the Bug Out podcast. This week is part 2 of the Dyatlov Pass incident, where we'll be discussing possible theories, hypotheses, explanations for what happened at Dyatlov Pass in 1959. Today we're not really going to be...
We're not going to be able to solve this.
Yeah, exactly. It's one of those things that's just, there's so many possibilities of what it could have been, but we're going to rattle through them, we're going to discuss them a little bit, but I doubt we're really going to get to something that we would put our mark of approval on and say, we think it's this.
Because we are nobodies, and there's professionals that don't even know.
Exactly. So I think we're going to start with what we think is least likely and kind of move on up from there. What are we going to start with? Menk?
I would say so, yeah. That seems like the least likely.
Menk. For those of you who don't know, Menk is... essentially it's the Russian abominable snowman or the Russian Yeti. Described as a forest giant with features almost identical to the Yeti. And that's described by the Mansi people.
I'm going to butt in.
Yeah, that's fine.
I did have notes. What did you say, the Mansi people?
Yeah.
I can't remember who they are.
The Mansi are, for all intents and purposes, they're just kind of indigenous people. Russia's got a really kind of... but it's quite an ethnically diverse place. As you get into the kind of the rural I can't say rural areas, there's a lot of kind of people with Persian heritage and things like that.
Right.
Obviously Russia being a country that spans over 2 continents as well, it's crazy large. I don't think the evidence for Minsk is huge, apart from, I think there's been sightings of him in those parts before, and I don't know, you could say that some of the guys and girls looked like they'd just been beat up by something that was incredibly powerful.
So, at the same time, it's very easy to kind of argue against why it would be a Yeti.
Yeah, hence why this is the first thing we're talking about.
the lowest one.
I'm not going to rule anything out because I don't know shit.
Well, unless it has invisible footprints, then it definitely wasn't a Yeti.
You never know, man. It could.
Because the only footprints that were found was the group.
We're talking about a cryptozoological creature here. It could fly. It could have wings. You never know, my man. You never know. Right. We'll move on to the next one that I think is also pretty unlikely. Even though I would like it to be the most likely.
Can I guess it?
Take a guess.
Is it the CIA one?
Come on, you're bound to know what I wish.
UFOs?
UFOs, my guy. UFOs.
Well, you are a very government person, so that's why I guessed.
That'll be next in the list, I think. But for now, UFOs. There was sightings of UFOs that night around that time, around that area, by a different expedition, I believe. They saw multiple glowing orange orbs in the sky around the area. But again, it's one of those things. I don't think there's really any proof.
Yeah.
Some people point to the radiation, and I don't think that's much proof either. I think we discussed the radiation in the last episode, maybe, and how one of them may have worked at a power plant, and that's where the radiation may have come from. But
on his clothes.
Yeah, UFOs are an easy one to fall back on though, because when things are hard to explain, it's very easy to just say aliens, because aliens are quite malleable. They can explain anything, really.
You could say the same about ghosts.
A lot of the time though, ghosts, you don't hear that many cases when people tell ghost stories and things. You don't hear that many cases of ghosts actually actively doing anything. It's usually just like, we got haunted, they threw some stuff around. It's not very often you hear that people be like, yeah, a ghost killed 7 people. Unless we're talking a horror movie, but I'm talking about like real life stories and things. Whereas I don't really think there's that many cases of aliens killing people either, though.
No, it's mostly like sightings, abductions.
Yeah.
Maybe the closest you would get would be probing, but
Mm-hmm.
I've not really seen any stories about aliens like
I've never seen this. I don't.
hunting people or anything.
Yeah, I've never really seen anything about aliens being harmful to people that they abduct or come into contact with. So, suppose in the same breath you could rule that out for the same reason. So the next one's kind of government involvement. Do you want to talk about that a little bit?
Not particularly. Not really. I have got notes though about the survivor, Yuri Yudin.
Yeah, yeah.
He's saying it was government related. He says that the incident was a murder that was carefully hidden by officials,
That
either because it was carried out by Soviet special forces or because Soviet intelligence allowed Western spies to kill the group. Was his thinking apparently?
See, some of that does make sense to me, especially considering Seaman.
Yeah,
He
the
had
one that went
ties.
by Alexander to the
Yeah,
group
yeah.
because he lied about his name.
Yeah, and he was kind of an outsider to the group, and he also had ties to the KGB and things like that.
Yeah, he was in the war.
Yeah, adds an extra layer of authenticity to that kind of claim from, was it Yudin that survived? Yuri Yudin?
Yeah,
To me, that, so far, that's the thing that I would put some credence in. And then there was rumours of some sort of kind of cover up afterwards as well from the government. But again, I'm not sure how true those claims were.
yeah. I mean, I couldn't when I was looking into it, I couldn't really find much about like his death and stuff.
Yeah, at some point we might do an update to this episode because I'm thinking I've actually got Dead Mountain in my Amazon wish list.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get round to reading that at some point, and
Hmm.
then I don't know, that might give us a bit of a further, might give me a further understanding into some of the other lines, but
Yeah, because I couldn't find much about him, but even a lot of other people say that he could have been involved in the kind of government conspiracy one.
yeah,
So Yuri could have thought that as well and just didn't say anything, but obviously he died and didn't say anything.
yeah, the Russian government could have very well maybe have had something up there that they were trying to hide or keep secret, and the guys just stumbled upon it, or it's as good as an explanation as any. If I'm sure there's more that we haven't talked about, but yeah, we could move on to one of the other explanations, and this is one I want to talk about. It's infrasound.
Mm.
So I think we spoke a little bit about infrasound before and how infrasound is,
It's like a frequency that makes you go loopy,
yeah,
kinda.
yeah, it's a frequency of sound that can cause anxiety in people who hear it. I think they use a similar type of thing, outside of places. They use a similar type of thing outside of like shopping centres and things like that. They don't want kids hanging around, so they play sound at a frequency that only
Under
people.
25s can hear and stuff. Yeah,
Yeah, and it makes them not want to stay in that area. It can cause them anxiety and things like that, and they use it so that people don't loiter.
yeah,
So
yeah. When I was younger, there was a house that used to be near the shop, and every time I walked past it, I would hear this just annoying long kind of squeal beep.
mhm.
But my mum would never hear it.
Yeah, there's a similar thing, and obviously we don't live in the same place, but the town that's closest to me, I'm not going to dox myself. They have a similar thing on the shopping mall that's there. They have it outside, and it's weird because sometimes when I'm walking in there, I can hear it, just a very, very, very low pitched squeal,
I've never heard it. I didn't know that was a thing.
yeah, and then other times I can't hear it at all. And I'm not talking about, obviously, me and you still live reasonably close. I'm not talking about the mall at your town. I'm talking about the mall at another town that's close to me.
Oh, that would make sense.
Yeah, it's not the
Um,
one near you. I don't think they've got
but
one there, but
but that's obviously made by like an alarm type thing. How would that happen just
yeah,
out
so
in nature where they're camping?
it can happen in
Would it
nature.
just be wind or?
Yeah, it could be wind moving through trees and branches, creating certain sounds. And I remember reading a case about this guy who he was kind of getting really bad anxiety and things like that, and he wasn't sure why. And it turned out that it was like his heating system was making this noise that was basically driving him slowly crazy. So there's a lot of things that can create this noise without you even realizing. But the thing about this noise is, for me, it does not explain it. There could have been, it could explain a certain extent of it, you know, like it could explain why there was someone had cut their way out of the tent, because
Yeah.
the thing about infrasound is it doesn't affect everyone.
Well,
Mythbusters did an episode on this.
yeah, I was gonna mention that. I thought I'd seen an episode.
Yeah, they did an episode on it. I think they found that it only affected like 20% of people or something.
Even if it was the sounds, I
Yeah.
mean, there's evidence. Even the footprints, they weren't scattered. They were calmly walking away.
Yeah.
They weren't scattered footprints, right? And so,
Well,
unless it affected everyone and made them
well,
calm,
that's what I'm saying. Like, at the very most, it may have affected one or two people. Let's just hypothetically say it did, and one of them panicked and cut a hole in the tent. Everyone else isn't going to therefore scatter from the tent. It's not going to affect everyone. Everyone else is still going to be rationally thinking in that situation, and they probably might try and calm the guy down who was affected, or they might try and hole up the tent, or you know, it's very doubtful that it caused them all to leave the tent and things. That just doesn't make any sense to me.
even if it did affect one person that cut through the tent, that means every single one of them tried to follow him without putting any clothes on
Yeah,
at all in the
exactly.
middle of a storm.
Exactly. It doesn't explain anything to me. It's one that I could easily say I don't think it is. Do you want
I
to
mean,
talk?
I believe the government won more than that one.
Yeah, same.
So
And I wouldn't say I believe the government won all that much, but I don't believe the infrasound at all. Do you want to talk a little bit about Kabatic wind?
I don't really know much about Quebec wind, to be honest.
I believe it's just kind of like a high density wind.
Yeah,
That's
well, I think I don't know like much about it, but I'm pretty sure it's like very very fast wind or something that goes down with gravity.
yeah, it's
Obviously, because they had camped on a hill. I think they had what did they cut into the hill or something.
yeah,
I think they had theorized that Quebec winds had went down the slope and then
yeah,
hit the tent, and apparently it's like getting hit with like a hurricane or something.
yeah. It's kind
But
of like a high pressure, high density wind with low moisture.
because
It's the ideal kind of place for Kabatic wind to happen.
yeah, because I'm looking at like just a sketch of how Kabatic winds work,
Mm-hmm.
and then I'm looking at a picture of where they had camped, and it's almost identical.
Yeah, the Kabatic winds kind of they blow it kind of at hurricane force is what you kind of meant earlier. They blow it around
Yeah.
like 190 miles an hour, or for people who
What?
yeah, or people who use kilometers per hour, kind of like 300 kilometers per hour, which is insane. But then again, why wouldn't the thing about Quebec, if you got struck with winds at 180 miles per hour, wouldn't your things be kind of like dusted everywhere, and you wouldn't calmly leave the tent? If that was happening,
Yeah.
you'd probably be thrown with the
I
tent.
mean, it would explain trying to cut through the tent to get out if they thought like a hurricane was right on them.
Possibly, yeah. But
But then it wouldn't explain the
the calm,
calmly walking away footsteps.
yeah, exactly. And this is going to be a kind of running
But
theme with this with Dyatlov Pass. You'll find that some things explain some things, but nothing explains everything.
yeah, you'll think of a theory and then you'll be, oh, that explains that and that explains that.
Yeah, exactly.
And then you look at one more fact and you're like, well, that just completely disproves everything.
Yeah, exactly. It's I think that's what I really love about this whole incident though, is that it is so difficult to nail it down.
I mean, well, you're saying that's why you enjoy this incident
Hmm.
because of all the theories. I'm pretty sure if you were the family, you would want one solid answer.
Well,
You wouldn't want it like,
definitely yes. I don't want to sound insensitive, but I think we're far enough removed from it now to be able
yeah,
to talk about it without. Obviously, it's still tragic, but it wasn't like it just happened yesterday. You know,
yeah,
everyone's favorite theory, avalanche,
the most likely.
seems to be everyone's favorite as well, but
Hmm.
again, does not really fit every.
I think it fits more than the rest, but then obviously some bits disprove it and here
Yeah,
and there. But I
it's
think it fits more.
yeah. For me, it's definitely the most likely, but there is still some holes in it. and
Mhm.
there are still some kind of mysteries surrounding it. Like, for instance, the place where they set up camp, it wasn't high risk avalanche territory.
Mhm.
When they arrived, there was snow coverage on the ground, but not an avalanche's worth, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Yeah, because I'm pretty sure the theory is it was like a time delayed avalanche.
Mm-hmm. What does that
So,
mean?
well, with the slab avalanches, it's like there's obviously a slab of heavy snow or ice or whatever sitting on top of a weaker layer.
Yeah,
So, I, I think the theory is that it didn't initially topple or break or collapse or anything, and it done it. I think like was it 6 hours later or something. It was just very slow at doing it.
yeah, yeah.
But obviously, then they camped there because it's not widely known that it was an avalanche area or anything. It wasn't supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
So it could have just been bad luck, bad timing.
Yeah,
Because he was a professional hiker tourist anyway, was he not, Igor?
yeah, yeah.
So he knew that he wasn't just an amateur.
Yeah, exactly. None of them were really amateurs.
So they wouldn't camp in a known avalanche spot.
Yeah, we mentioned in the last episode they kind of were forced to camp somewhere that they didn't initially intend to because of the snowstorm, but you know, with
Yeah,
experienced hikers like that, they're still not going to make silly mistakes. And
yeah. But they could have went obviously back to the wooded area,
yeah,
but then they would have had to walk all the way back up.
yeah, exactly. It's
Because I can't even remember how far away the wooded area was.
it was like I think it was around a kilometer away.
Mm.
So it wasn't kind of right next to them, but it was fairly close. This was the wooded area that they were later found to have climbed a tree up, set a campfire, and is that the one you're talking about, or are you talking about the one from earlier on? Where because there was the initial wooded area where they left extra. What's the word I'm looking for?
Food and
Supplies.
equipment.
Yes,
Yeah.
supplies. And then there was the wooded area next to where they camped. They were initially going to stay there, but then they didn't want to lose elevation.
I don't think that was like proved. I know that's what Yuri said, but I don't know if it was proved or anything.
That would be the best explanation for it because there's no reason that they wouldn't go into that wooded area to camp because during a snowstorm that's going to be kind of the best kind of coverage and stuff. So the only reason that they would stay uphill and
Hmm.
stay up in that location where they ended up setting up camp, the only reason they would do that is if they didn't want to kind of lose elevation and if they didn't want to make that trek back up there the next morning.
Yeah.
It was basically just they didn't want to lose lose extra time and going down and coming back up and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, because obviously they're thinking it was what time delayed, and then when it eventually happened, they panicked and cut their way through the tent
Yeah.
just in case it was like an actual avalanche and stuff.
Uh-huh. I mean,
Um,
it's entirely possible. I know we keep saying that they're experienced in things, but it's entirely possible that the reason that they didn't go down to the wooded area was because they didn't want to lose elevation.
hmm.
It's entirely possible that that could have been a misjudgment from the hikers. You know, they could have thought, oh well, we don't want to go down there and lose time. I'm sure that spot's good enough,
Hmm.
and it could have just been a mistake because even with people who are experienced, mistakes are still made.
Yeah.
But
But then you argue against that, like you said, there was fresh snowfall, but there was no actual evidence of an avalanche or anything.
yeah,
I mean, the tent that you see, I don't know how big the tent was, but it doesn't really look that covered in it.
it doesn't look that covered at all, and the fact that we're still able to find footprints and stuff afterwards too.
Yeah, the calmly walking away footprints.
Yeah, and if an avalanche slowly befell them, it also wouldn't explain why they'd leave at all. You know, if their tent was still there on the surface, you'd think that they'd at least try and kind of gather supplies and regroup and
Mm,
come up with a plan. Where it
yeah.
seemed like they just kind of nonchalantly scattered and didn't think about their clothes, didn't think about their shoes, didn't think about anything. Something made
Hmm.
them want to immediately leave.
Which is why people think it's the combatic winds because it's like hurricane like, and then some people think it's the government, like if there was soldiers there shooting at them or something,
So
and it was all covered up.
here's my theory, and this is the theory, so listen up, people, right? So the UFOs came, right? The orange lights that were seen in
Uh,
that area, right? They came along. They tried to abduct the group, but then Menk came along.
the Yeti.
Yeah, the Yeti came along. He was like, hell no, this is my dinner, right? So he's like, basically, like, fuck you, aliens. This is my food. You're not taking them. So then the aliens and the Menk got into this epic battle, and then the government showed up because they're sat there like X Files. They're like, oh, we've got some activity. Let's get out there and see what's happening. So the government show up. Next thing you know, this tent is just in the middle. I'm talking a Lord of the Rings style battle. You've got aliens. Lord of the Rings, the Battle of Five Armies. This is the battle of three races.
Races, that's what you're going with.
Yeah, the battle of three
Right.
races. You've got the alien race. You've got the Yeti. But it's not just an army of Yetis. It's all the cryptozoological animals have all came into one. So you've got like Yeti, Meng, Mothman flying in.
Oh,
You've got
gross.
you've got the Jersey Devil. You've got all these cryptozoological creatures running into battle. Then the humans come in with their guns and tanks, and this tent is just in the middle of all this. So they're like, shit, what's happening out there? Is it Kabatic wind? So they cut their way out, and then they'll like try to stand around and watch. But then some army guys walk up, and they're like, yo, can you calmly leave the area? And but our clothes and stuff are in the tent. They're like, never mind, calmly leave the area because these aliens are using like mind beams. They're gonna get you.
Mind beams.
Mind beams.
Wow.
So they leave, and then all the fighting causes a slab avalanche.
Right.
And then when they get down to the wooded area, one of them climbs a tree to try and see the battle.
Mm-hmm.
And then they see that the fighting's calmed down, so they start walking back. But at that point, it's too late. And then
Too late.
the other ones, yeah, because they died on their way back, didn't they?
Yes.
Yeah, so it was too late, and they died of hypothermia. Either that or some mind beams got them.
Doesn't explain all the other injuries they had, but okay.
That was just kind of wounds from the battle.
Wins from the battle. Okay, so I have a question. Are you retarded?
Yes.
What the fuck?
Yes.
Jesus.
I'm just trying to explain it all right.
So your theory is every theory.
Every theory. Every theory.
You're dumb. You're dumb.
Gotta please everyone, you know?
You're dumb.
Gotta please everyone. That was just a little joke, by the way, people. It really is kind of like it's probably never going to be solved at this point.
No. Well, even with the avalanche, they recreated it.
Did they?
And yeah, I think they done it twice. It was 2015 to between 15 and 19. Oh no, that was the weather. They confirmed that the weather was bad and wind speeds up to 67 miles an hour on that night.
Right.
So it could have been Kabatic winds. This year, actually, a team of physicists and engineers published a new model that demonstrated how even a relatively small slide of snow slab on the Kola slopes could cause tent damage and injuries consistent with those suffered by the group. So that's basically the go-to. That's the most recent.
I was going to say I was sure that some investigations had been reopened on it,
but then you can argue back that there was no evidence of an avalanche.
Yeah, that's the thing that you can always argue back. Like I was looking on Reddit because I'm a Reddit user.
Oh, edgy.
It's not cool to be a Reddit user anymore. I was looking on Reddit. That is what you'll see on Reddit. If you look this case up and you have a look around and you have a read of some comments, there's always someone debunking the person who's got the answer.
Mm-hmm.
You'll never ever find someone who makes a compelling argument and then no one can argue anything back. You know, there's always holes in the story. There's always possibilities that aren't explored. There's always something left out that just doesn't make sense. But I think I'm quite happy for the Bug Out podcast to say my battle of the three races is probably the most likely outcome.
I don't agree with that.
That's the end of the Bug Out
No.
podcast forever. Lewis doesn't agree with my fantasy. No, I think Avalanche is probably most likely, and it's the thing about Avalanche is it kind of, I don't want to say it makes me sad because having an answer is good, but I like the exciting things, you know.
I think honestly, because it's been so long, and at this point, even if it is confirmed to be something, a lot of people are still not going to believe it because it's been unexplained for so long.
Yeah.
I don't think everyone's going to agree on one thing.
No one ever will. It's the same with any of these kind of events.
I mean that investigation there that was done literally this year could well be the answer, and then maybe it snowed and covered up the avalanche tracks or whatever.
Yeah.
But there's a lot of people that don't agree with it. They don't think it was an avalanche at all.
That's true. There's always going to be people that agree and disagree, especially when it comes to this case. I'm going to go after this episode and I'm going to post my theory on Reddit and see what people say about it.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure they'll love it over there.
Can we do a drinking game where we take a shot every time you get called an idiot for your theory?
Yeah, I don't think there's enough alcohol in the world. But yeah, this hasn't been the longest episode because honestly, when it comes to Dyatlov Pass, I don't think there's a lot more that we can really add to the story. There's not really a lot we can add to the theories.
No, you can only talk about it so much, and you can only, what if it was this, and what if it was that.
Exactly, yeah.
Apart from that, you're just reading either everyone else's theory about it, or just the facts, such as the recreation of it, of the avalanche and stuff.
Yeah, or you're just coming up with random bullshit like me. But yeah, we're not gonna get anywhere new on this. We never were. We're not researchers. We're not scientists. We just like to talk about stuff on the internet because we're not very
cunts.
Well, I was gonna say because we're not very talented.
Well, I suppose, yeah.
But next episode of Bug Out Podcast is a very, very good one. Lewis hasn't heard it yet.
Secret.
Top secret podcast incoming. It's already recorded. It's already edited. It'll be out pretty soon. When it's out.
We'll do a CDPR. It'll be out when it's ready, and then release a half-edited version of it.
Well, no, because it's already fully edited. I only need to record the intro, and we're good. For a little teaser, I had a sit-down interview with someone who'd had a very paranormal experience. Really nice guy, amazing story. We had a long talk. I think you're going to really enjoy it if you decide to listen to it. But for now, I think we're going to end Dyatlov Pass and start research for our next episode, probably. Yeah,
we'll end the incident for now. Maybe an updated episode later, but for now.
Thank you for listening to the Bug Out Podcast. Goodbye from me.
And from me.
Bye-bye. See you next time. I'm not going to put a date on it.